Alright, hello. Aiming is a fundamental skill in many FPS games, and Valorant is no different. When it comes to getting better in FPS games, there's always a lot of tips for beginners on the internet. Things that they might be doing wrong, such as aiming at their own feet, or using comms. Never. On the flip side, the best advice anyone can ever possibly get is just click heads and not die. But the advice itself is useless without knowing how. These aim drills are meant to push the boundaries of your general movement, your mouse movement. Now, just a quick notice, I want to say this isn't going to be a fancy video. I just kind of quickly go through these drills and show you what I do. And for a placeholder, in the beta for Valorant, I placed Immortals 2, and in other games like Overwatch, I placed Masters, almost Grandmasters, around that range. CSGO, I play Supreme. Like, I'm no one good. It's just these are just drills I use. So hopefully they help you guys out. If you're new to any of them, obviously take your time with them. Don't feel the need to rush. Rushing is bad. Rushing inhibits your potential, basically. Perfect practice, however slow, is still some pretty goddamn good practice. And as time goes on, obviously you can get faster. There's no worry there. Anywho, first up, I like to warm up personally with a drill that helps me get a feel for my mouse sensitivity. So what I do is I spawn some bots in, and then I try to shoot the outermost left and right bot as fast as I can, which typically tends to be not fast at all. As they die, more bots will spawn in, and I just try to keep the progress up until I feel comfortable. Then once I try to do the same thing, but I add movement to my character. I try to move left and right, and try to pause and stuff like that. This is important because obviously in Valorant, you're not just going to be standing still trying to click heads. There's going to be a lot of movement, and good movement is essential to good aiming. Numero 2. Same concept as the first one, but this time we're going to aim to push those boundaries even more, with unusually wide turns by standing in the middle of the group of bots. What I like doing for this part specifically is, well, again, clicking heads. That's it. But to go further into depth, I like to make wide, dramatic turns after I shoot a body. I try to do like a 180 and shoot another bot behind me, for example. Of course, obviously, most of the time you won't be using this skill in a match, and to be frank, I think I need to improve on this a lot, personally. But there are definitely times where the random flick right behind you can save your ass. Of course, like everything I've mentioned so far, obviously, add movement once you're comfortable. That will drastically change your gameplay. Throw in a couple sprays now and then, or crouch here and there, but do what you gotta do to emulate those movements that you would typically use in an actual match. Now, this one is pretty simple, pretty straightforward, pretty common. Recoil control. Easiest way to go about this for me is to use the target that displays where your shots hit. This gives you a general spray pattern once you shoot, and it also indicates how you should control your recoil while you're shooting. I won't go into depth about how to control recoil, other than that all you need to do is really just drag down your mouse and go left to right depending on the spray. But the range that I like to practice this is from about 10 meters to 30 meters, and any more than that, I just prefer utilizing tapping / bursting to get the job done, so I won't practice further than that. But after I get some practice on, I'll just go to the bots again, the practice bots, and I'll try to shoot them to get a general feel for how many bullets I need to kill someone with the weapon I'm using. I believe I saw ACU doing this one, and I thought it's a pretty simple yet ingenious way to practice one's aim. All he does is he positions himself in the spot that I'm standing at right now in the video, and he shoots these floaty targets in the sky. It's a pretty simple drill where the focus is just on speed and precision. I recommend using a scout because of the general nature of this drill, switching between ADSing and no-scoping to hit the targets as fast as you can. Of course, you can do this with Vandal, which will be pretty good practice for burst and spraying control. But the point of it all is that this drill helps you with these wide flicks that you typically wouldn't be doing. And it's hard to practice that. Even with the preset hard mode bots that are already implemented in the game, which are fantastic. the fifth drill, tracking. Although probably one of the most boring drills, I also think this is one of the most important drills. Tracking drills help you keep your crosshair on someone, regardless of whether or not you're moving or they are moving. That's all it is. You just want to keep your crosshair on their heads as much as possible while there's movement. Do this for a minute or two, and you'll probably notice a strain in your hands that you might not recognize if you haven't done it before. It's pretty unusual. I know I get that a lot from friends that are trying to get better at tracking, but still, personally, I rarely do these drills because I think it's boring as fuck. So I always end up shooting them before I really practice the tracking. But of course, it's really important to implement these without a doubt. Unlucky number 666. Crosshair placement, the bane of all beginners. Peeking around a corner is difficult, especially when you don't know how to peek those corners. But how do you practice peeking the corners? Is where the issue comes in, right? There are plenty of videos and guides out there on how to peek, whether or not you should stay close or far away from the wall, and why you should use different techniques to peek. But this drill is meant to help you practice that skill. Pick Sage and place some walls down and try to shoot bots that come into your line of sight, whether you're jiggle peeking or shift walking. Jiggle peeking obviously being pressing A, D, A, D, A, D until you see target, or shift walking just slowly pushing the corner, hugging the crosshair against the wall while you're peeking. This part of the crosshair placement aspect is similar to the previous one, but this time we'll be using the broken down walls right before you enter the platform to shoot the bots. All you gotta do is really just hold your corner and wait until the bots walk into your line of sight, at which point you would just tap them. You want to keep doing this and slowly peeking out to focus on shooting one bot at a time. Obviously, it's kind of hard to do with all the bots that spawn, but keep that in mind. You want to try to keep pushing it and keep tapping these bots to walk into your crosshair. After some time, if there's no more bots spawning, go to the other side and just rinse and repeat on the opposite end. This will help you for your crosshair placement, and it'll teach you, if you don't know already, how to maintain and hold an angle to click on someone's head, for example, once they walk in your line of sight. Pretty effective and useful spot. I was messing around and I randomly thought about it, and it just made sense. It's a good practice to me. Last but not least, lucky number 7. Now this drill is my favorite drill, and it is by far the most simplest drill you can do because it's already so well implemented in the Valorant practice mode. All you have to do is just try to kill the 30 bots that spawn when you hit start. I personally prefer putting it on hard, but everyone is at different stages, so do what is comfortable for you. If it's too comfortable for you, remember, try adding movement or just straight up upping the difficulty. Personally, I never enter a match until I can at least hit 15 headshots on hard mode bots with armor on. But I still aim to go for at least 20 because that's where I feel like I'm really warmed up. When I'm consistent, my shots typically hit the 20 range mark in the bots. So I try to push for that. Hopefully some of these drills help you out. And I know I haven't seen that many videos on it, if any at all. That might change by the time I upload this video. We'll see. But I know a lot of people have been asking me whether or not how to get better at aiming, and to say just keep practicing is kind of useless advice. So I try to show some things that I do to actually help me practice these different motions and movements that I think is pretty important when it comes to actually aiming in the game. But yeah, that's the video. I wish everyone a good day, and take care of yourselves. Thank you everyone for watching.